Welcome to Spouse Force Live, One More Careers webinar brought to you here, powered up by Blue Star Careers. We are coming live to you with a very special OCONUS edition of this Blue Star Careers webinar to our community, military spouse community. We just want to tell you that we hear you. We know the challenges that you are experiencing overseas as an OCONUS, PCS order, and all the employment challenges that come with that. But although a lot of progress has been made, yet I know that there's a lot of more things that we can identify and things that we can make it happen. Today, our presenters are leading the OCONUS employment discussion, 5 things they are doing or they did to make more OCONUS employment ready. So I encourage you to listen, to please support with your comments and your optimistic resources that we can all share to become more positive and more aware of where those opportunities are. Our military spouse employments are joining us all the way across from Germany, from South Korea, from England, also covering some of the Okinawa locations. So they're all going to share with us the who, the what, and the where, so that you, military spouse who are experiencing these OCONUS employment challenges, can make it happen. So let's get started without further ado. And thank you so much for supporting. As usual, remember, tell us where you're watching. We'd love to send you a shout out. We're streaming all across our Blue Star Families channels, including LinkedIn. We'd love to highlight your support and your shout outs towards the end of our segment. Thank you. Well, hello. Once again, thank you so much. I'm Laura Torres from Careers, bringing you a very special UCANA's Career Discussion Edition to all of our military spouse communities who have or are currently experiencing these challenges, or perhaps are in the process of transferring and executing the new PCS orders. We have with us today some really special experts of their own unique career experiences who are themselves navigating the OCONUS challenges right now as we speak. We have Veronica Serantes, who is a program manager at DoD programs with Recruit Military. We have Isabel McNeish, LLB Law, who is also visiting us and directly streaming from the UK right now as a transition specialist and a military spouse advocate. And then we have Kasie Valenti, who is all the way from Korea visiting us and supporting us. And I want to send a special shout out to her, of course, to all of our guests. But Kasie was very instrumental in putting all this together. The moment I reached out to her and I said, I want to do this discussion, would you help me? Would you educate me about Korea and the challenges? She helped me all put it all together. So thank you so much to every single one of you who are watching. So without further ado, let me just, Laura, be quiet and greet our guests, Veronica, Isabel, Kasie. Welcome. How are you ladies doing today?
Great. Thank you.
Yeah,
Doing
great. Thanks for having me.
Fantastic. We'll go just really quick in a merry-go-round with Veronica. Veronica, highlight ourselves. Tell us more a little bit about yourself and how's life over there for you at service all across the other side of the world.
Laura, once again, thank you for having me join your webinar. It's always a privilege to be able to talk to you and fellow military spouses. As I mentioned in some other webinars that I hosted with you, I've been a military spouse for 22 years, but I also had the opportunity to be OCONUS 2 different times throughout our military career. I was stationed in Vicenza, Italy back in 2003, where I was a recent college graduate without any work experience. So I had to be able to navigate finding a job without the tools that are available to us now, like LinkedIn and Facebook. And since 2020, I've been living in Grafenberg, Germany. This time around, I had the opportunity to actually PCS with a job, and I'm actually on my second job here in Germany. I started working with the transition program, where I had to staff career counselors and financial counselors, and now I am working, as you know, as with Recruit Military remotely from Germany, helping military spouses and transitioning service members connect with meaningful employment opportunities.
Great. Thank you so much. And thank you for supporting. And yes, you're right. We had a great time during our first webinar. And I'm really looking forward to all the great insightful tips that you have from your personal experience. Thank you for visiting and for staying up late because it's very late for you already. You're winding down for the end of your workday for you. So we really, really appreciate your
Uh,
support and your time.
no, thank you. I love talking to you.
And then I have Isabel all the way from the UK. And Isabel, I mean, I got to give her, I mean, warm virtual hugs by all means, because she got on a plane last night and she traveled and she said, I can
Yeah.
make it. And right now she's still traveling. So, Isabel, thank you so much for taking the time to come over and share resourceful tips and educate our military spouse community about ways that they can also make their career more OCONUS friendly.
Mhm. Hello, Laura. Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm so grateful. It's such an opportunity to share my experience. I'm a Marine spouse. I've been married for 11 years now. I was born in Angola, lived most of my life in the UK, and where my family still lives. I only moved to the US because I got married to my Marine. Right now, I'm visiting my family. I'm still, like I said earlier, at the airport, and but we are actually stationed in Okinawa, Japan. We are stationed in Okinawa, Japan. But when I got married, I had, like my husband likes to say, I experienced the glamorous side of the Marine Corps. He was stationed, he was on embassy duty. So I got to live with him in Malaysia. I worked at US Embassy. I had the privilege of actually getting a job at the US Embassy. And after that, I moved to 29 Palms. That's where my struggles of being as a military spouse and not being able to find job work actually started. After 29 Palms, we moved to San Diego. And for some reason, my background is in law. I'm an attorney in the UK. So I've always, for some reason, it was being really difficult for me to get certain positions I used to apply. And I do believe, number one, I, for most people, I was overqualified. Secondly, as well, I just didn't know the ways in which I should have been applying for jobs in the US because it's completely different. Um, I've been living in Okinawa for 2 years now, and I actually had a job. I worked as an independent contractor until July 20th. I work as an independent contractor for a well-known non-profit company organization. However, due to lack of funding, my contract was terminated, mine and my colleagues. So I'm looking for work right now. But yeah, I'm here to share my experiences and to also to learn from the other ladies.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And that is precisely why I wanted to also invite you in to share your experiences and highlight, the process of perhaps a contractor work. It's actually the key for some of the communities that are overseas. And our community members can actually reach out to you and leverage those experiences
Mhm.
from you. I ask, hopefully we'll can ask you more specific and more targeted questions and seek your support. And then, of course, last but not least, is Kasie. As I mentioned, she was very instrumental in helping me putting all this together. I just had all to reach out to her on LinkedIn, by the way. That is the place to be. And without further ado, I would say thank you. Welcome to our Spouse First Live. Tell us all about you, your unique Okana story.
Sure. Yeah. Thanks for having me. And I'm really happy to join this conversation. It's a really interesting topic for me because overseas right now, and I am living the struggle of employment as an OCONUS military spouse. And it's really interesting to me because I started my military career in the military as an Army veteran. I served 8 years on active duty. I've moved all over the place, all over the world. But this is the first time I've lived overseas as a military spouse. And I've been a military spouse now for 7 years. And for all 7 years, we lived in the United States. And I was always very aware of the employment struggles, underemployment, being underpaid, all of these challenges military spouses face. I was aware of it, but I didn't realize how bad it was until I moved overseas. And it's now just something I'm really interested in, and I don't have all of the answers, but I've found a way to make it work for me now. And I just want to share some of the things that I've done to help me navigate my career. And I hope to be able to share that today with everyone.
Wonderful, thank you. And I want to encourage once again our community audience from LinkedIn, Facebook, our Spouse First community to please post your questions. And if you see me glancing back and forth to different monitors, because I'm tracking the different communities where we are streaming live right now. So we are actually live. That's what we normally have these at around 10 a.m. But because we are accommodating time for our presenters, we want to make sure that we're mindful of their schedules. There's Rise and Shine in some of their locations, and others like Veronica will be soon hitting the night dreams and resting for the end of the day. So, but we really want to encourage you to really post your questions, support, and then if you know of another military spouse, please tag and share this discussion with them, because we want to make sure that we reach as many military spouse community members as possible, so that we can all share the resources and help those who are going through the challenge navigate this situation a little bit better. Now, family, and I'm going to call you family because you are part of our Mil Spouse family community. Now, where did you PCS and how much notice did you guys have? What are some of those things that you sort of prep for ahead of time heading over there? We'll start with Veronica. You mentioned you have done already a couple of before. So could you walk us through what did that look like for you?
So both times has been completely different. Like I said, the first time was back in 2003. New military spouse, no work experience, recent college graduate. That one, I honestly, it's been such a long time that I don't remember the specifics of how much time I had to prep, but I do remember arriving in Italy just a few weeks before everybody started deploying to Afghanistan. And so I found myself being a new military spouse without housing, without a job, and really not having a community or a network. There was no such thing as a network the way that we know it today. So my strategy back then was to start doing community work. It was trying to start reaching out to the community, going to the library, going to the to ACS, and just asking who needed volunteers. I started volunteering at the education center, not getting paid, but just being able to learn a little bit more about the community. But within a week's time frame, I think it was 2 3 weeks, I was offered a part-time job that led into full-time employment, and within a month I was working as a full-time education counselor in Vicenza. But I will say what opened the doors for me was just being able to put myself out there to ask questions, to really walk around and ask who is hiring, what do you know that is available in this community. And now it's so much easier. So when I come in the second time, I know we're getting orders to PCS to Germany. I was able to do that outreach before actually arriving to Germany. I started reaching out to ACS, the Army Community Center. I was already working with the transition space, so it was making those phone calls. Who is the contractor right now? Who has that contract? Who's hiring? What positions are available? And interesting enough, every time I made a phone call to the education center or the transition office, I was always referred back to the Army Community Center, where they host all of the jobs that are currently located in this garrison. So for everybody that comes to Germany, if a spouse is looking for employment, all of the contracting jobs available for military spouses and even government jobs will be hosted through ACS, and they have a weekly job update where all of the current openings are available. So like I said, two different time frames, but the concept is the same, is really reaching out to your community, understanding which departments or who's hosting all of those different jobs that are available for that community, and start making your connections and building your network within that local community.
Great, thank you, and definitely, understanding that obviously you were a lot more prepared now the second time, and
Absolutely.
you did lots of research ahead of time to prep you and to understand, how to be successful your second time, or at least be a little more intentional about your job search.
Yes, and that's what I said. I think it's important to have a strategy to really understand what you're looking for, because I think it's very important to be able to define to others exactly the positions that you're looking for. When you said, I'm willing to do anything, that actually closes a lot of doors for you instead of opening doors. So if you're able to really talk about your experience, to talk about what your skill set is, it really facilitates that network to be able to point you in the right direction for the right jobs for you. I will always say, be ready, like have your targeted resume, understand what those skills are. So, because every interaction you have has to be treated as a job interview. You never know which connections you're making and what connections those individuals have. But I will say 100% of the times that I have gotten jobs is because of a network. It's never been because I see a job announcements. It's always because I have a conversation. Some of them are casual, non-formal conversations that are happening at the gym, at the commissary, at the PX, where you're talking about the kinds of jobs that you're looking for, and somebody that knows
Mhm.
somebody that is hiring.
The power of who you know. And with that,
Absolutely.
we'll go to Isabel. Isabel, now you arrived to Okinawa with a job. So you actually left the U.S. with a job as a U.S. contractor, right? 1099 employee. So how was that
Uh,
process for you? Sort of.
before then I wanted to share something. Just
Sure.
like Veronica, uh, when I got married to my husband, I was in the UK, I didn't know any military spouses, I didn't understand. So when I arrived to Malaysia, Malaysia was a former British colony, I was convinced I was going to get a job. But then I didn't understand my husband's military status in the country that also included me. So I was prevented from working the local economy. There was no one to actually pass that information to me beforehand. So I volunteered. That led me to start volunteering as a military spouse at refugee school. And then I saw a job at the embassy, which I applied. Then when I moved to from Malaysia to 29 Palms, I was ignorant to the ways of in which people should make their connections in the US. In the UK, a job is advertised, there is always a deadline, a salary posted. You know, if it says that it's going to close on July 30th, it will close on July 30th. So I would see a position and I would apply, and then before the deadline, and it would say, sorry, this job has already closed. I didn't understand the numbers when they say that most jobs is first come first serves. As when they if the second person or the first person that applied is actually good for the position, then we will actually immediately interview that person. Secondly, to come here, so I was at different stage. Because I wasn't able to get employment in the US, I volunteered a lot. I volunteered a lot. And the more I volunteered, I met so many military spouses that, like all of us, moved to different places, but they were always able to work. They were always able to find employment. So then I learned the importance of networking. So as I was volunteering, and back then I had really, really young kids and a baby. I started working with other military spouses, attending events, every professional development event that I could attend, I would attend. The ones that permitted me to take my baby, I would be there. And I just started networking. And the more I networked, the more people I met, the more organizations that actually recruited military spouses I met. That's how I got the position that I was doing through LinkedIn. So I'm a great believer in LinkedIn. I always say do not underestimate the power of LinkedIn. I network heavily on LinkedIn. I knew the CEO of the company through LinkedIn, not personally through LinkedIn. I followed the pages. I was always checking their positions. And once they posted that they were recruiting for Japan, I contacted her and just said, "Oh, this is an excellent opportunity for me. I will be applying." She wasn't the person that actually interviewed me, but I made sure that I told her that I was interested. And that's how I got the job. But for me, networking, later on, I began to understand the power of networking. And that's what I used. prior to coming here.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And then, of course, Kasie, networking, that's how you and I met virtually. And we actually have not had a long networking relationship. It's less than a month shy, but yet we are contributing and collaborating to bring this powerful discussion for our military spouse community.
Yeah, so my story is a little different. I did not do as much as my two peers did before moving. I was living in Florida, and we caught wind that we might be moving to South Korea probably, say, 4 months before we did. But we did not receive orders until 30 days. So we didn't start making plans to move until 30 days, but we were kind of aware. So I was doing my research and starting to connect and network, but I really wasn't able to build the network that I needed because we didn't know exactly where we were going. And where we ended up, we're actually a few hours away from an Army base. So we live on the economy, which added an entirely new level of struggles and hurdles to overcome because I don't have a local community to reach out to and resources to use. Not to mention, here's one that we probably won't touch on later, but childcare. Living on the local economy, there's no English speaking childcare. Also, the school system looks a little bit different. So my kids go to an international school where there's summertime. Well, most of the Korean schools here don't have that summer break. So I'm the only one around here having to juggle kids and work. And most military spouses are the default parent. So there were a lot of unexpected challenges once I moved here, specifically because I'm not close to a military base. And so like Veronica and Isabel were talking about, just power of networking, being open to new opportunities. But I think one of the things that I'm still learning to do now is redefining what success looks like to me professionally. I always thought that I needed to have this title in this organization. I need to be a full-time employee with total compensation. You think you need all these things. And if you're in a position where you can kind of redefine what success looks like for you or needs to be, and understand that this is probably just a season in your career where things are just going to look different. And you can use it as an opportunity to grow and learn. And contract work has been key for me. I have multiple contracts. I have one part-time job and then a few contracts on the side. And the way I look at it is each one of those are building onto skills that I know I actually land that dream job. And I think that has been huge for me. And we say networking a lot, but really community building. Don't just connect with people who are in this organization or that and just reach out to ask for something. But it's about building a community and staying involved in the community. So even if after you've accomplished what you're trying to accomplish, still staying connected and giving back, because your career is going to ebb and flow. And when you're doing well, you should be giving back. And when you're doing bad, the people you're giving back to, it's a community, and we just have to always be there for each other, no matter what season of your career you're in. And if we have time, we can really dig into that too. But that's kind of my story. I moved here exactly this time last year. So it's taken me a full year to kind of feel like I've got things under control now. And then we'll be moving this time next year.
Wow. So it's definitely a lot of consistent challenges. I mean, it's almost like nonstop, but that is also sometimes I guess if we can try, not necessarily to try to normalize it or say, well, it's not really, Kasie or anyone out there, it's not really, that's something we all face. But even within the U.S., sometimes there are certain communities that are very isolated, and you go to certain communities, and it does take a good year or 6 months sometimes to get acclimated and to build your network. That's why I think it's important for you ahead of time to just try to figure out a way for you to stay on a, like you mentioned, Kasie, and a great feedback is to stay connected and get involved in your local community, especially right now through the power of virtual support and virtual connections. You can stay connected ahead of time, way ahead of time, so that you can start researching and understanding your future communities a lot better. Now, with that being said, I would like to ask you guys, what are some of the current employment challenges maybe that you face that you wish you would have known, or that you did something, that it just kind of took you that wow moments, like, oh, if I had only researched ahead of time, then maybe it would help someone else prepare better for this. So one employment challenge that you probably face in your current station right now that like you wish you would have been more prepared for. Uh, Maybe two challenges if that needs to be done. Veronica.
Laura, I would say for me, it was that I was fixated with the idea that I needed to find a GS position through USA Jobs. And I went through the website and I kept thinking, oh, I have the military spouse preference. So this is my way in to get that government job. And it's really understanding that for us spouses, there's still that stigma that we're only going to be at a specific place for a short period of time. So we have an expiration date. But that stigma doesn't really affect government contracting jobs. So it was really understanding that that's not my niche. I don't need to be looking for a government job. I need to stay within contracting jobs that offer me more flexibility, but also mobility. Is that opportunity to transfer with your job, regardless of where you're relocating to. So I think it was understanding that I don't need that job through USA Jobs. I need to stay with contracting and a job that will be transferable.
So accommodating to the current or the environment that you are currently by location, and understanding what are some of those positives, I guess, that you can take advantage of. So great, thank you. What about you, Isabel? What is that one challenge or two maybe perhaps that you have faced that made you go wow, or have you in a hot moment and you're like, oh, I wish I would have better for it.
Due to my family dynamics, I still have a child that is not in school. I need a remote position. And the one that I had before, it was ideal. However, it's just the uncertainty of whether we'll be able to find, may not necessarily be similar, but the same type of position, because it was their first, it was a new project for the company, but they were actually stationed in, they were based in the US, and only I was the first person here, and then they contracted someone else. So it's hard. It is harder to find remote positions. It is harder. You do find, yes, there is a lot more competition, but you do find positions where in-person positions, but it's harder. A second one, I think I also hope I would have been better prepared with before taking the independent contractor position, because I've never worked as an independent contractor, and so that's one of the things as well. I'm trying to get more education on that side, and I'm not sure how it is stateside if military spouses are able to get free support, i.e., in relation to taxes, in relation to certain things. It's harder in here. So I think that's one of the two challenges that I'm facing right now.
Thank you for that, and you raise a really good point there, and definitely something it's on my list of to do webinar sessions is to bring some of our partners who are really good at taxations and tax topics to walk us through what a 1099 positives and the not so good things that military spouses need to know. But Katie, what about? Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Just one last thing. For example, I know I signed the contract perfect, but the way my contract ended, it was actually quite shocking to me. No notice, no nothing. It was just like, one day I'm signing in and I'm on my vacation and I said I will still work. That's how. So it was kind of a shock. So I'm like, in as much as I would like a remote position, I think I'm a bit traumatized of in being an independent contractor again when you have financial commitments that you've already made ahead. So yeah.
Yeah, no, I totally understand that. That's a big shocker
Mhm,
for a lot of, yeah, 1099
mhm,
employees, contractors that quite often face or they find themselves in the challenge. But
mhm.
Kasie, you with such a short notice, less than 4 months orders, what are some of those immediate challenges that you face that made you go, wow, I wish I knew?
Well, I wish I would have known. I guess I knew the power of community, but I wish I would have started building my community a bigger network before I moved out here, because I feel like it's taken me some time to connect with more military spouse organizations. But what I think actually helped me was I do marketing and communications for veteran service organizations. And because of that, I've developed a lot of asynchronous skill sets, which I think has really helped to set me apart moving internationally and being able to work um, pretty independently from teams. So if there's a military spouse living in the United States and they have an idea that they're going to move internationally, even if you don't know you're going to move internationally, it's important to build skill sets that are asynchronous, that you can just do behind the scenes, regardless of what time zone your team or your company is working in. I would say that just happened to be something that I didn't know I was doing, but I was doing, and it helped me now where I'm at. But if I could go back to last year before moving, I wish I would have done more community building, been more active in my community, and using my voice more and connecting and making friendships like we're doing today. That's the one thing. And having your LinkedIn updated, fully optimized, your resume optimized. Mindset, I think it can be really discouraging. I think you have to mentally prepare yourself that things are not going to be the same when you move internationally. Not yet. We're not there yet. I hope one day things will be completely changed and you don't have to mentally prepare yourself to be overlooked for jobs you're way overqualified for. But right now, that is the situation. And I encourage people to just be aware that it's going to look different once you move overseas, and don't let that be discouraging. Just get involved more in your community. So mindset, networking, update your LinkedIn and your resume, and build asynchronous roles are some of the things I would recommend.
Perfect. Thank you so much for that. And definitely, I guess, build your community for sure. Build your community and start connecting. And as of today, by all means, head over to Spouse First, your virtual community, where we are going to share all the different links and tips and tricks that we are all, we'll be sharing and we're discussing here, as well as our presenters. LinkedIn, if you haven't already found them yet, because that's what I'll be doing right now. It's going to LinkedIn and start looking them up and start sending a connection so that you can start then following up with more intentional questions as well. But I do want to come back and ask all of them and see what are some of those tips and tricks that they immediately call your attention that you can share with military spouses now that you are an expert of your local community where you are right now. You've been there for some time now. What are some of those tips and tricks that you can share about those specific communities that will empower and prepare someone who's heading over there in the next few days or months, be just a little more, more to adjust better to the community? Veronica?
Going back to what Casey said, is really connecting to your local military spouse community. Like most duty stations have a local military page, Facebook page. And I think it's important to connect with those Facebook groups. And if you're looking for employment, ask the question: do you know of anybody that is hiring for this specific job or this specific skill set? And spouses, if they know of anybody that is hiring, they will let you know, or they will point you in the right direction. Once again, it is really having your LinkedIn updated, is having your resume updated, And also like understanding the tools that are available for military spouses. I work with Recruit Military. Just as of today, I did a quick search earlier. We have over 13,945 jobs available that are remote employment opportunities. One of the silver linings from COVID is that employers are willing to hire the right person, even if they're remote, even if they're located overseas. Like I work for Recruit Military, they're stationed back, I mean, they're back in the States, but I work Eastern Standard Time. So I adjust to their schedule to be able to have that remote employment opportunity. So having those resources, like being able to just do a quick search, I did a quick search earlier for Germany, there's 4,697 jobs available right now. For Korea, there's 216 jobs, or for Japan, 526 jobs. So these are resources that are available at our fingertips for military spouses just to do that quick search, create that profile. And like I always say, it is announcing your work, your presence in the workforce, letting everybody know, hey, I am looking for a job and these are my requirements for this job. And employers are looking to hire us. And that's what we need to understand, that employers understand and see our worth. We just have to make sure that we're showcasing it.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And for highlighting, ask, right? If we don't know, if we don't ask, then no one will know how to help us.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a great tool that you have at your fingertips, and you have a great, powerful community behind you to support you. Miss Isabel, what about you? Any tips, tricks that you have learned now in your current communities that you will share now that you are an expert of Okinawa employment challenges and supportive services in them?
I would definitely say networking on LinkedIn for me, it's number one. Prior to coming here, number one. Make sure you update your profile. If you do not know how to update your profile, there are so many organizations. Don't pay anyone. So many organizations that can assist you for free. Update, and it's not just a matter of having a LinkedIn profile. It's actually engaging, and the military community is so welcoming. If you Once you're on LinkedIn, do your searches, narrow down, look at, let's say if your field is nursing, look for nurses who are in Okinawa. Introduce yourself. Hello, my name is Isabel. I'm currently in Texas. I'm soon moving to Okinawa. I'm new to LinkedIn and I would like to stay connected with you. And you will find that military spouses, veterans, uh, active duty, you will find that they tend to say, "Oh, fantastic, no problem. Please let me know if I can be of any assistance." Once they tell you that, can actually say, "Actually, in fact, I'm looking for work. If you know anyone that you could introduce me to, I would be, I would be grateful." Um, Facebook. There are so many groups. Um, there are so many groups. Look for those military spouses groups. They tend to be the number one groups where actually a lot of times here in Okinawa you will see those jobs that are not advertised on LinkedIn are actually posted there. And often they are posted there even before maybe a few days they actually show up on LinkedIn or Indeed. It's already there because someone will say, by the way, my we are recruiting at my workplace. If you please put your resume together, put my name down as a referee, something like that. There are so many networking groups on LinkedIn. So many, join them. They may be overseas, but like not overseas, it's stateside. But like Veronica said, a great thing the pandemic has done for us is that we are all connected because we can now attend all of the different networking events virtually. So I do tend to attend. Are we okay naming names, mentioning names, Laura?
Yeah. Yes. This is
I,
yeah. This is a resourceful community. Yes.
okay, I do attend Vets to Industry
Of course.
frequently.
I do
Start
too.
attending the event. I know, I see you there, Laura. I start attending the
Every
events.
other Saturday we're there.
Exactly. Even before I moved to Okinawa, that's where so many resources that I know now, that's where I learned from. And attend the events. They give you the opportunity to practice your elevator speech, introduce yourself. They may not tell you, oh, okay, I know someone who's recruiting, but you may learn of a resource that can assist you, a mentorship program that you can sign up for. There are so many. Military spouse with advanced degrees on Facebook. Join their groups, their Facebook page. American Corporate Partners. Um, it's always great to have a mentor. Sign up with them. MSPN. There are so many groups, different places. Sign up, join. They will let you in. Just start asking the different questions. So for me, definitely networking, even though, and volunteering. One last tip for Okinawa.
Perfect.
There aren't that many jobs, but there are many volunteering positions, and often they will recruit from volunteers. So
Very
that's
true.
once you're here, volunteer. Don't see it as a waste of time because it will open doors for you.
Absolutely. And will my exposure to new skills that and then you can later
Yes.
transfer on to some incredible opportunities. So thank you so much for all the resources, Isabel. What about you, Miss Kasie? What are some of those great things that you can share now that you are a subject matter expert of your own community?
Yeah, so Isabel and Veronica covered really great points. So I will add one that we haven't covered really. But so my community right now, I'm the director of community development at International Scientific Advisors. So I want to share a little bit about some of the spouses that I'm connected with right now and what they have done. So I think another thing to add is reskilling and upskilling. And this goes back to preparing yourself for asynchronous type roles. So you have to, it's just not lowering your standards, but changing your standards and being open to contract work, freelance work. And it's okay if you're not a full-time employee, but using this time to, like I said, upskill and reskill. So in my current community at International Scientific Advisors, we have military spouses from Spain, Japan. I'm in Korea, and there's these training programs that you can go through that are at no cost to military spouses. There are great organizations out there that will help train you. You have to look for those organizations. And this community specifically is in the healthcare industry. So if you're a nurse, a lot of military nurses or military spouses that work in the health industry have a lot of hurdles to jump through when they move internationally because of licensing, and there's a long wait to get an employment position when you move to a small base overseas. So a lot of the spouses that I'm connected with now are reskilling and upskilling and being more open to contract work and going through training programs. And specifically the one I'm talking about now, you can go through a training program and then you can take on freelance work as a research specialist, a virtual research specialist, a virtual project manager, a virtual scientific advisor. So there are a lot of virtual opportunities out there that are worldwide, but you might have to go through a training program and reskill, upskill. And so that's just a unique perspective for other military spouses to consider as well.
Great. Thank you so much. And I do want to encourage all of you who have not yet taken advantage of all the free training and not shameless plug here. We have our Spouse for Learning hubs where incredible access to Coursera where our community members can upskill and take advantage of over 9,000 different certifications options available. However, we have section them so that they are more intentional by specific topics, because I think if you're like me and you're exposed to 9,000 different learning opportunities, you might want to do everything and then end up not doing anything at all. So just be mindful of that. So reach out if you need any more support or you have specific needs that you're trying to target and upskill. We're here to support you. Now, real quick, I want to take just real quick time to highlight some of those who are watching. And of course, I'm mindful of the great time in all three incredible advocates in military spouse superpower community is sharing and donating to us. So thank you, ladies. I hope you still have time. So I want to highlight here Jennifer all the way. She's saying hi all Wednesday. And then Samantha all the way also on LinkedIn. It's saying hello. Somebody also commented, great topic to discuss. Thank you so much for the support, Adrian. Um, and somebody wants to connect with all of you guys. So Alejandra, I will look them up on LinkedIn, and they're definitely connect and share your thoughts and continue to help us build community for sure. Jennifer, continue to share more comments. So many qualities to offer, of course, all of us, and please lift each other up and continue to share the resources. And I do have a question here for any of you guys in your personal experience. Anyone can take it, please. Is it worth to pay a federal resume writer to help you with obtaining a contracting job or a USA job resume? I have my personal opinions about paying for resume with being exposed to so many resources in the military community, but I'll ask some of you guys to chime in.
I um I think the same thing as you. I think often we are tempted to think that it's better to pay because we don't know the resources that are actually available to us. There are so many resources. If you are near a base, every base has a career center that will sit with you, and they will actually, on a one-to-one, they can do on a one-to-one, and they will actually help you write your resume. Some will even, they'll talk to you and then they'll write it for you. I've had friends that have been at home 15 years, and you would be amazed at when they've helped them write their resume. Not that they've made things up. No, they're just like, okay, but you were at home, but you were doing these things, and they were able to actually put it in a very good, in a marketable way, in a way that actually sells them very well to employers. So don't pay. Don't pay. Often, sometimes I also see that companies that tend to charge, they create all these fancy resumes, and that sometimes you're only really being vaccinated by the template, to be honest. Now, don't pay. Seek help. If you need to connect with someone, I'm sure Laura can signpost you to someone who can help you with a federal resume. I also can signpost you to someone who can help you with a federal resume. Do not pay. No.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Anybody else has any thoughts about ever paying for anything when you are connected to the military spouse community?
Same. I say
Laura,
not pay. Google. Look
yeah.
for free military spouse services. Start searching for
Mhm.
that. Send us your resumes. We'll look at it.
Absolutely. Use your community. And so just very quick, again, mindful of your time. Thank you so much. We'll go in a quick run, run around and ask Veronica, tell us your who, your where, and your what suggestions. People landing in your community in the next few weeks or days or months. Who's the who, where, and what that you will suggest and you will share with our community?
Okay, I will say, I mean, obviously working with Recruit Military, like I mentioned, having over 13,000 jobs available remote, over 5,000 jobs here in Germany, I will say use those tools. Go to recruitmilitary.com, create your profile, do a quick search. That way you can get notified when jobs that meet your job search criteria open up. You will get notified. You can apply for those jobs right away. The what is also like go to the Army Community Center. Just connect with them before you arrive. Connect on their Facebook page. That way you see those weekly postings. And once you see who the employer is, create those connections through your LinkedIn so you can keep building that network. Laura, what was the last one?
The what? What is the
The what?
one tip or one thing that you would say that is a must do while you are in your community?
Like understand what you're looking for, like really define what your success is. Success is not the same for everybody. For some spouses it will be remote employment, for some other ones it will be part-time jobs. So understand that you are the one that is defining your success and just be able to talk about it. But that's probably what I will encourage is understanding what your worth is and what you're looking for.
Perfect. Thank you. What about you, Miss Isabel? The who, the where, and the what in your local community?
I would say if you're moving to Okinawa, definitely go and visit uh, the wonderful people at the different bases. What they called the career centers, they can actually assist you with your resume, actually disseminate job openings to you. All the Marine Corps bases have one. I know Kadena has one. Kadena has a Corpsmen and Family Center. Definitely go there. They have so many resources. They also have the employment navigators. They can actually sit with you on a one-to-one. They're actually on that center. And the Army base also has, they have a lovely lady. I won't say her last name because I will butcher her last name, but her name is Veronica. Fantastic military spouse as well. Very, very, very helpful. If you need to know who she is, I can tell you on LinkedIn. She's on LinkedIn. Very, very helpful lady. What? And please definitely join Hiring Our Heroes Military Spouse Professional Network. I volunteer for them. I've been volunteering for them since San Diego. Most jobs for military spouses are actually advertised there. That's one of the things. Even when I used to advise transition service members and military spouses, I always used to say, try and see if you cannot join, ask your wife to join because most jobs are actually advertised there. And just let me know. I'm the person who actually lets people in the group, but that's a platform where I would advise you to actually connect with.
So while in Okinawa, Isabel is the what? So let's connect with her.
Yeah.
Miss Kasie, what about you? Share with us the who, the where, and the what of your local community.
Yeah, so I don't have a local community because I am close to the beach. We are isolated. So my community is all completely virtual, but I feel very connected in my virtual community. And so I think we've already mentioned really great resources for local communities. And another one is to add international scientific advisors. And this is specifically for the healthcare industry. So military spouses, who are in the healthcare, who have healthcare experience, interest, education. There's another community to look into that's completely virtual and really great for people who are like me and do not have a local community to tap into. Look into fully virtual organizations as well. And if anyone's interested, just message me on LinkedIn. I'll help you find your virtual community if you are in an isolated, living off the economy situation like me. So
wonderful. Thank you so much for all of those great resources. And I guess my lessons from you learned into all of us who perhaps never got to experience this, but if I was to do it all over again, is definitely connect with our presenters and connect with incredible people like them who have powerful resources and great intentions to help all of our military spouse communities. Follow up with questions and, of course, seek mentorship where that is very intentional to your unique career goals. And then what can I tell you? Join our spouse first community because right after this, I'm going to start sharing some of those links that Veronica, as well as Kasie and Isabel have shared. We're going to share those throughout the rest of our resource spotlight and continue to share those throughout. And then tomorrow, join our career-a-thon. We have a special career-a-thon where we're going to share specific OCONUS career opportunities. And so those links will be all posted in there through our career-a-thon as we always do. So continue to network and share it and send us your comments and your questions. But most importantly, advocate for yourself and ask for support. If we don't know, then we don't know how we can, support you. And if we continue to talk about these issues, that we, all together can collaborate, advocate, and create solutions for change for everyone. So anything else from anyone before we close? No? Okay, great. Well, thank you so much for all of your support and for all of you who are there watching and all across the U.S. Veronica, good night. Thank you so much for staying up. And of course, and also Isabel. Isabel is also in nighttime almost.
Yes.
And Kasie, rise and shine. Have a wonderful day. Thank you so much for adjusting your hours and your work schedule to accommodate this webinar to really empower military spouse community. So thank you so much, everyone.
yeah, thanks for having me.
Thank you for having us. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.